A very good evening. Welcome to Biz RoundUp on our television on another weekend. I'm Ashingsani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines first. Not a single foreign bank has rejected LC documents by state banks, Trade Minister assures. Country's prosperity index in 2019 showed a marginal decline compared to 2018. Government puts discarded 273 SLTV buses into service after complete renovation. News in detail. Trade Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena assures that they have not been reported a single instance of cancellation or refusal of LC documents by People's Bank, which is a leading state bank in Sri Lanka. He made this assurance rejecting the criticism brought by a few parliamentarians who represent the opposition in the parliament.
මම දැක්ක ඊයේ පෙරේදා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමෙක් සඳහන් කරලා තිබුණා මහජන බැංකුවේ ණයවර ලිපි අවලංගු වෙලා බැංකු විශ්වාසය කඩා වැටලා බැංකු ක්‍රමයේ කඩා වැටිලා කියලා ප්‍රකාශයක් නිකුත් කළා. මේ සම්පූර්ණ සාබද්දයයි. සම්පූර්ණ අසත්‍යයක්. මම මහජන බැංකුවේ සභාපතිතුමාගෙන් වගකීමෙන් යුතුව ප්‍රශ්න කළා. මහජන බැංකුව විසින් කිසිදු නිකුත් කරපු ණයවර ලිපියක් අවලංගු වෙලා නැහැ. පිළි නොගෙන ඉන්න තත්වයක් ඇති වෙලා නැහැ ලෝකේ කිසිම රටකින්. එතුමාට වැරදි තොරතුරු එන්න ඇති වෙලා තියෙන කතාව තමයි खनिज तेल नीतिगत संस्थाවේ ණයවර ලිපිය නිකුත් කරනකොට නව සැපියුම් කරුවෙක්ගෙන් මේ අලුතෙන් ණයවර ලිපිය සම්ප්‍රදායික කෙනාට නැතුව වෙන කෙනෙකුට නිකුත් වෙනකොට ඒ ණයවර ලිපි ලාභී බැංකු විසින් විවිධ ප්‍රශ්න කිරීම හා ගණදෙනු සාකච්ඡා සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ණයවර ලිපියක තියෙනවා විවිධ කොන්දේසි. ඒ ණය බේරුම් කරන දින වකවානු යනාදී. ඒවා පිළිබඳ සාකච්ඡා ඇති වෙනවා, සම්මුතියෙන් ඇති වෙනවා, එකඟතා ඇති වෙනවා, එකඟ නොවන අවස්ථා තියෙනවා. ඒවා සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ ණයවර ලිපිය නිකුත් කරන්න පෙර ආතුව. එහෙම පෙර ආතුවේ වැනි ගණදෙනුවත් සාකච්ඡාවක් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. කිසිම නිකුත් කරපු ණයවර ලිපිය ප්‍රතික්ෂේප වෙලා නැහැ.
The central bank says that the country's prosperity index in 2019 showed only a marginal decline compared to the year 2018. However, central bank in a positive note adds the sub-index of well-being of the people has improved during 2019. The central bank says that the Sri Lanka Prosperity Index recorded 0.802 in 2019 compared to 0.811 in 2018, with marginal declines of the economy and business climate and socio-economic infrastructure sub-indices. However, central bank also announces that the well-being of the people sub-index has improved during 2019. The Prosperity Index is a composite indicator compiled by the Statistics Department of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to measure the level of prosperity of the country. The index comprises three sub-indices, namely economy and business climate, well-being of the people, and socio-economic infrastructure, and those are measured using 41 variables representing different aspects of prosperity. The central bank said the slipover effects of the Easter Sunday attack on tourism and related industries, resulting in an increase in unemployment and relatively high inflation due to adverse weather conditions towards the latter part of 2019, were the key reasons for the decline in the economy and business climate sub-index. Reduced usage of public transportation due to concerns on security aftermath of the Easter Sunday attack mainly resulted in the decline in socio-economic infrastructure sub-index. Improvements in the aspects of quality of education, health facilities and wealth of people were the major contributors to the increase in the well-being of the people sub-index. The Western Province led with the highest value of Provincial Prosperity Index, while Southern and Central Provinces were ranked second and third respectively. In comparison to 2018, the North Central Province recorded the highest increase in the Provincial Prosperity Index, followed by the Eastern and Western Provinces in 2019. 273 buses belong to Sri Lanka Transport Board, which were taken out of service due to dilapidation, were repaired and re-added to the passenger transportation under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Goldface Green last Thursday.
These buses will be utilized to meet the passenger transportation needs in rural areas throughout the country. The project, based on a concept of the State Minister of Vehicle Regulation, Bus Transport Services and Train Compartments and Motor Car Industry, Dilum Amarugama, was implemented under the guidance of Transport Minister Gamini Lokage. 273 buses that were completely out of service at 107 depots island-wide have been repaired at a cost of 115 million rupees. The project is being carried out by SLTB depots and Lakdiva Engineering with the full support of the Sri Lanka Public Transport Employees Union. After inspecting the standard of the buses, President had a chat with the workers of SLTB. Transport Minister Gamini Lukiye, State Minister Dilum Amanagama, Principal Advisor to the President Lalit Viratunga, Chairman of SLTB Kingsley Ranawaka were also present.
The Hotels Association of Sri Lanka has welcomed the arrival of the first group of tourists to Sri Lanka since the country reopened its borders and expressed its confidence that hotels industry of the country is capable to handle tourism in the new normal.
The Hotels Association of Sri Lanka President Sanat Ukwatta expressed his confidence for the success of the pilot program. The statement added that Sri Lanka has already provided quarantine accommodation to nearly 60,000 arrivals from over 130 countries since the airport closed to tourism in March. Sri Lanka's hotels have been actively participating in the quarantine program led by the Ministry of Health and the military, and there have been no cases of transmission to the community from those who have quarantined in hotels. It was further added that Ministries of Health and Tourism have issued strict rules for hotels participating in the pilot tourism program. Hotels that can accept tourists in the new travel bubble concept are already vetted by the Ministry of Health, and all hotels in the program have also built-in isolation and medical centers to care for tourists diagnosed with COVID-19.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. The latest tourism data from the World Tourism Organization stresses that international arrivals have fallen by 72% over the first 10 months of 2020, with limitations on travel, low consumer confidence and global struggle to contain the COVID-19 virus, all contributing to the worst year on record in the history of tourism. According to the latest tourism data from the World Tourism Organization, destinations welcomed 900 million fewer international tourists between January and October when compared with the same period of 2019. This translates into a loss of $935 billion in export revenues from international tourism, more than 10 times the loss in 2009 under the impact of the global economic crisis. Based on the current evidence, UNWTO expects international arrivals to decline by 70% to 75% for the whole of 2020. In this case, global tourism will have returned to levels of 30 years ago, with 1 billion fewer arrivals and a loss of some $1.1 trillion in international tourism receipts. This massive drop in tourism due to the pandemic could result in an economic loss of $2 trillion in world GDP. Asia and the Pacific, the first region to suffer the impact of the pandemic and the one with the highest level of travel restrictions, has seen an 82% decrease in arrivals in the first 10 months of 2020. Now, Head of Research of Investment Institution First Capital Holdings, Dimantha Mathe, will be providing you the detailed analysis of the trading of the Colombo Stock Exchange for the gone 5 days.
Overall, stock market has been very bullish during this week, especially Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. There was significant bullishness in the market. There was a bit of a slowdown on Thursday. However, on all 4 days, we saw the market ending in the green with significant buying interest coming from the local investor segment. Now, the local investor participation is around over 95% at the moment. With that, the foreign participation has significantly declined. The buying interest among investors are pretty strong at the moment. And what we are seeing is even a high level of turnover and activity despite the market being basically operating within the festive season, and usually the activity levels tend to trim down. However, these days we are still getting turnover levels over 3 billion as well in on certain days. So this is a very positive trend. It signifies the bullishness of the investors at the moment.
Furthermore, Head of Research of First Capital, Dimantha Matthew, added that the prevalent positive momentum in the market will continue in the coming days with the increased buying interest in the market.
During the upcoming week, we feel that the overall market will continue to be positive and bullish because buying interest seems to be very strong. Fresh money seems to be coming into the market still. So with that, we are likely to see more and more retail activity continuing in the market. And since there is this sentiment towards blue chip counters, and there is a lot of interest in the banking sector counters and capital goods counters led by John Keels gaining significant amount of interest. And when there is more and more interest coming into blue chip counters, there is a natural trend for the index to move up because the blue chip counters are highly influential towards the overall index and consumes a large amount of market cap in the overall market. So with that, we feel that there will be an upward trend in the market continuing. And all three categories, basically retail, high net worth and institution, are likely to be very active in the market. However, more activity is likely to be now shifted towards more blue chip counters.
Let's now look at a few more stories for the day in brief.
Professor Lalit Gamage has been appointed as the new chairman of the Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka. He takes over from Jayantha De Silva, who will be leaving as the secretary to the newly created Ministry of Technology. Professor Lalit Gamage was the chief architect in establishing the Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology in 1999 and is currently holding the position of its vice-chancellor and CEO. Hyung Airline, headquartered in South Korea, has launched its maiden service in Sri Lanka with its first vessel call at the CICT of the Port of Colombo. Hyung Airline will have a weekly call at the CICT, deploying 6 vessels of 4,220 food equivalent unit capacity directly connecting China to Sri Lanka and India. The new service will allow Hyung Airline to offer direct connections between China, Sri Lanka and India and enable them to mark their presence in this region. Lanka Satasa Limited has registered a profit of around 100 million for the month of October 2020. Then Lanka Satasa Limited chairman Dr. Nishad Pereira noted that Lanka Satasa had managed to cut down its annual losses by around 60% during 2020. The retail store network was to register an annual loss of around 779 million in 2020, that is significantly lower than the 1.9 billion loss recorded in 2019.
And that's all the news for this week. See you tomorrow with State of Business at 7:45 p.m. Until then, take care. Good night.